She texted from my phone, "I told your mom you're cutting her off," then asked why I was angry. My mother called in tears, begging to know what she did wrong. My girlfriend just shrugged and said, "Now she'll respect boundaries." I didn't argue. I just BLO. It all blew up because of one message. While I was in the shower, Lauren grabbed my phone. I didn't see her reach for it, didn't hear her footsteps over the running water. When I stepped out, dripping, towel around my waist, my chest sank before I even unlocked my phone. 2 texts. One from her to my mom. "I don't want to see you anymore. Don't call me. You're toxic." And one to me. "I told your mom you're setting boundaries. You're welcome." My hands went cold. My stomach pitched. My mom, my only family since Dad passed 5 years ago, was suddenly being told that her son was toxic, that I was toxic, that my daily calls, my attempts to check in, my care over her health, her routines, her feelings, everything, was poison in Lauren's narrative. I called my mom immediately. Phone in trembling hands, I barely registered the dial tone before I heard her voice, shaky, cracking. "Andrew, what did I do wrong?" she asked, tears audible, catching in her throat. I froze for a second. I could feel her panic, the confusion, the hurt she never deserved. This wasn't just a fight between me and Lauren. This was a direct hit on my mom's heart, and threw it on me. I swallowed, forced my voice steady. "Mom, that wasn't me. That was Lauren," I said, careful to keep calm. "I didn't send that. I wouldn't ever say that to you." There was a long pause. I could hear her sniffle, a single shudder, her hand probably clutching the phone. And then, "Oh, okay," she whispered, though I could hear her doubts. I don't understand. Why would she say that?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. My mind was already racing, cold clarity overtaking panic. Anger didn't rise. There was no shouting. Just a precise, methodical click into focus. This is a problem. This is a boundary violation. This is a line I cannot let her cross again. Lauren stood in the doorway, towel still wrapped around her hair, dripping onto the bathroom floor. Her expression was calm, almost smug. "Now she'll finally learn to respect boundaries," she said, voice even, detached. No shame, no remorse, just a statement of fact. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't beg. I didn't let her bait me. I hung up the phone with my mom. I watched her retreat to the bedroom, and I did something I hadn't done in years. I switched off the emotional part of my brain. The panic, the confusion, the hurt. I set it aside like a tool I didn't need in this moment. I went into the bedroom and looked around. Lauren's presence, the casual way she treated my mom like an obstacle, like some irritation to be removed. It all clicked. It wasn't a one-time thing. The passive-aggressive digs, the subtle dismissals, the jokes that weren't funny. All of it led here. I felt a cold focus in my chest, like ice water flowing through my veins. Not anger, not even fear, just a steady, procedural clarity. She has violated a core boundary. She has weaponized my family. I will respond appropriately. I didn't know exactly what that response would look like yet, but I knew the first steps had to be immediate. Nothing would stay the same. The apartment, the car, the locks, her access, everything could be reassessed. Everything she thought she controlled wasn't untouchable. I sat on the edge of the bed, towel still around my waist, breathing slowly. I pictured my mom alone in her kitchen, phone in hand, trying to understand. I would make sure she knew the truth. I would protect her, and I would protect myself. That was the moment it changed. I didn't yell, I didn't storm out. I just sat, focused, calculated. Cold clarity had replaced chaos. And I knew very clearly that from now on, every move I made would be deliberate. Every action measured. No more surprises. No more betrayal from the person I thought I could trust. Lauren didn't know it yet, but this wasn't going to end like she expected. As my mom sniffled into the phone and wiped tears, I felt the first flicker of resolve. Her sadness wasn't just painful, it was actionable. I could channel the hurt, the betrayal, into something tangible, something that sent a clear message without words, without drama. The plan formed in my head as naturally as breathing. Simple, clean, and entirely logical. "Mom," I said, voice steady. "We haven't gone anywhere together since Dad died. Let's fix that. Just you and me." A pause. I could hear the hesitation in her tone. "Oh, honey, that's too much. I don't want to trouble you." I shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. "No, pick a place. Anywhere. Your choice." She thought, sighed. "Finally, Florida. I've always wanted to see white sand and blue water." "Done." I grabbed my laptop, fingers moving fast but deliberate. Flights, hotel, beachfront suite, rental car, airport transfers, every detail accounted for. I double-checked the check-in times, the breakfast package, the ocean view balcony. 2 round-trip tickets to Miami. 14 nights in a suite that overlooked the water. Every reservation synced with my calendar. I even included the optional spa credit for her. She deserved comfort, not stress. Once it was all booked, I forwarded every confirmation to Lauren's inbox. No subject line, no explanation, just the emails, neatly stacked, each one a quiet statement of ownership, autonomy, and intent. She didn't need the commentary. She knew exactly what she was looking at. I dressed in a casual shirt and jeans, combed my hair, and walked into the living room. Lauren was perched on the sofa, towel still wrapped around her hair from her morning routine, holding her phone like a shield. She looked at me, confusion and something sharper. Anticipation? Dread? On her face. "Our dinner reservations in an hour," I said calmly. "You should get ready." Her eyebrows shot up. "Wait, what?" I didn't move closer. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't punctuate my words with exasperation. I simply stood, hands in my pockets, measured, composed. The silence stretched. It wasn't threatening, not exactly. It was the absence of drama, the absence of chaos. And that scared her more than any shouting could. Lauren opened her mouth, then closed it. She glanced at her phone, then back at me, her lips pressed together. Her posture shifted, tense shoulders, crossed arms. I could almost see the calculation behind her eyes. How did he? Why is he? I didn't explain. I didn't negotiate. I simply walked past her, grabbed my jacket from the coat rack, and collected the car keys. "Ready?" I asked, voice neutral, calm as a Sunday morning. She didn't answer. She couldn't. The power she thought she held, the leverage of my mom, the emotional manipulation, the daily guilt was gone. It evaporated in the face of a quiet, deliberate action that had nothing to do with her approval. I drove us to the restaurant. My mom, still in shock but smiling through tears, chatted softly about Dad, the beach, the Florida sunshine. Her voice, warm and alive, filled the car in a way that had nothing to do with Lauren. Lauren sat behind us, silent, scrolling her phone. I didn't glance at her. I didn't need to. Every notification she received, the booking confirmations, the rental car contract, the suite details, was a reminder of the consequences of her actions. And she knew it. At the restaurant, I made the reservation under my name. Lauren realized instantly when the hostess greeted me by name only. Her eyes flicked to my mom, then back to me. No words passed. She didn't dare speak. Dinner arrived. I ordered my mom's favorite dishes, the ones she had complained about missing in our usual routine. Lauren didn't offer to help, didn't intervene, didn't try to claim control. And that was exactly how it needed to be. I watched my mom's shoulders relax, her laughter come easier. And somewhere in the corner of the room, Lauren's discomfort settled like a shadow. Quiet, undeniable, permanent unless she changed course entirely. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I simply acted. And that, I realized, was worth more than 100 arguments. Dinner was a quiet battlefield of social control. My mom laughed easily, unguarded, telling stories about Dad's terrible attempts at grilling steaks, the vacations we'd missed together, and her new hobby of watercolor painting. I interjected, lightly teasing, adding details she forgot to mention, laughing at her expressions and her sighs of exasperation. Lauren sat opposite us, barely touching her plate. Her salad wilted untouched, the salmon on the side of her plate growing cold. Every few minutes, she lifted her phone with precision, fingers swiping through notifications, eyes darting toward me as if expecting a reaction, a fight, an apology, anything. She wanted chaos, she wanted me rattled. I didn't give her the satisfaction. My mom was radiant, her posture relaxed. Her laughter echoed in the small dining room. Lauren's annoyance grew like a shadow stretching across the table, but I refused to acknowledge it. Every story, every joke, every careful gesture I made toward my mom was another brick in a wall Lauren had no power to breach. We left the restaurant, the evening air crisp and quiet. Lauren's silence had grown tense, taut, until finally she snapped as soon as the door shut behind us. "Did you see my messages?" she hissed, her voice sharp and brittle. I nodded once. "Yeah. And that's it? You have nothing to say?" No reaction. "You said it all for me," I replied evenly, walking past her into the hallway. Her eyes narrowed, scanning my expression for weakness. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced down, and her face froze as she saw a new notification. "Miami? You're going to Florida? With her?" she stammered, voice tight. I didn't raise my tone. I didn't justify. I didn't apologize. "You told me to choose," I said quietly. "I did." And then the eruption came. Screaming, accusations, shrill laughter turned venomous. She called my mom a manipulative old woman, accused her of controlling me, accused me of colluding with her, of plotting against her. She threw a glass against the wall, shards littering the floor. She accused me of betrayal, of prioritizing my mom over her, of failing as a partner in the worst ways imaginable. I didn't flinch. I didn't defend myself. Calmness became my armor, my silent counterattack. Every word she spat, every accusation, every threat slid off me like water off a raincoat. My mom's presence, her voice, her calm assurance over the phone, anchored me in clarity. "You have until Sunday to move out," I said, finally, measured, deliberate. My voice held no malice, only certainty. She shrieked in disbelief. "You can't do this. I have rights. I'll ruin you. You can't treat me like this." I didn't respond. I simply watched her storm through the apartment, collecting clothes, tossing books, muttering threats under her breath. I documented everything with quick mental snapshots. Where she moved, what she touched, the timestamps of her exit. The next morning, the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Lauren was gone. So was my laptop, and a few expensive watches I'd left out for work. My attention went to the kitchen counter, where a neatly folded note lay. "You owe me $4,000 for emotional distress." I read it once, set it aside. I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I didn't call the police yet. I did something else. I documented it. Took a photo. Saved it in a folder titled Lauren Evidence. Every word, every item taken, every movement she made would be accounted for. The apartment smelled faintly of her perfume, a lingering shadow in the corners. I breathed it in, calmly, deliberately, then let it go. This wasn't chaos anymore. It was procedure. Every action she'd taken, the texts to my mom, the threats, the theft, was now data. Every scream, every accusation, every attempt to intimidate was a time-stamped event. I didn't need vindication yet. I only needed clarity. And in that clarity, the power shifted. She wanted panic. She wanted fear. She wanted me to overreact. But I didn't. I calculated. I planned. I knew that leaving her with my calm, with my unshakable response, would hurt more than any argument or fight ever could. For the first time since the texts, since the glass shattered on the floor, I felt a strange satisfaction. Not joy, not relief, just control. I knew exactly what I would do next, and nothing she did could stop it. This wasn't revenge. It was inevitable consequence. And it was just beginning. That same night, after Lauren stormed out, I went through the apartment methodically. Every drawer, every surface, every item she could claim or manipulate. The laptop, the watches, the documents on my desk. I made a detailed inventory. Then I called the locksmith. Within 45 minutes, all 3 locks were changed. Deadbolt, knob, the spare key in the mailbox. All useless to her. The apartment was secure. Next, I filed a police report. Theft, harassment, and the prior incidents documented in detail. No exaggeration, no melodrama, just facts, times, dates, and the exact items taken. I made sure to note the threats, the glass thrown against the wall, and the messages to my mom. The officer listened, took photos of the broken glass, the note on the counter, and typed it into the report. Case number assigned. Officer instructed me to keep all documentation. By morning, my phone lit up with notifications, but not from her. Instagram. Lauren had posted a carefully curated image. Sitting at a cafe, sunglasses reflecting the morning sun, latte in hand, captioned, "Escaped a toxic relationship. Learning to love myself again, red heart." Hundreds of likes within an hour. I didn't comment. I didn't react. I screenshot the post, logged it in my folder titled Lauren Evidence, and moved on. This was a public attempt to shape the narrative. I wasn't participating. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Mia, Lauren's best friend, texted, "You're pathetic, Andrew. You kicked a woman out on the street." I paused for a second, thumb hovering, then replied calmly, "Tell Lauren the stolen property report includes your name too, just in case that laptop shows up on eBay." Silence. Not even a read receipt for 15 minutes. They realized I was documenting everything. Every threat, every accusation, every attempt to manipulate me now had consequences. And then it escalated. An envelope arrived, printed, formal-looking, stamped with a law firm logo I didn't recognize. Inside, a letter, addressed to me personally, claiming, "Lauren is demanding $3,000 in damages for emotional hardship caused by her eviction and subsequent distress." I read it once. Then I read it again. It wasn't legal. It was fiction masquerading as law. My company lawyer, a seasoned litigator, chuckled audibly over the phone when I forwarded it. "That's not a lawsuit," he said, clearly entertained. "That's creative writing. She's trying to scare you into paying out of fear." I responded exactly how I should, methodically, by the book. I drafted a cease and desist outlining the facts: stolen property, harassment, defamation, and the costs incurred for the new locks. I had receipts, timestamps, and the police report attached. The letter demanded Lauren immediately cease contact, retract her public accusations, and acknowledge that her claims were false. I included a note to Mia as well, just in case. Any attempt to interfere or assist in misrepresentation would be treated as accessory to theft and harassment. Then I did something subtle but deliberate. I went about my day as if nothing had happened. Checked emails, replied to work messages, brewed coffee, organized my desk. No anger, no panic, no posturing. Calm, deliberate action was the message. Hours later, my phone remained silent. Instagram, no new posts, no texts. The silence was palpable. Their narrative had failed to provoke me, and that was devastating to them. For the first time in years, Lauren had no power, no influence, no ability to manipulate the story through emotion or threats. She couldn't post, she couldn't call, she couldn't escalate without entering documented, legally traceable territory. And that, I realized, was the beginning of the shift. Not revenge, not theatrics, just control. And it was deliciously quiet. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I filed the screenshots, confirmed the locks, double-checked the police report. All documentation secured. Every subsequent move, every threat, every creative legal letter, now it was all mine. Every step Lauren took would be met with calm, factual, deliberate responses. That night, I sat in the apartment, lights dimmed, computer humming softly. A cold certainty settled in. I wasn't just protecting property or asserting boundaries. I was establishing precedent. My calm, deliberate focus wasn't negotiable. And for the first time, Lauren didn't know what to do. Silence, evidence, clarity. She had played the victim. I had responded with procedure. And that, more than anything, was terrifying to her. A week later, Mom and I were airborne, cruising over the Atlantic in a small, unremarkable commercial flight. But to me it felt like freedom. The hum of the engines, the rhythmic tapping of the seatbelt warning, even the guy snoring 2 rows ahead. All of it faded under the certainty of what I'd done. I wasn't running. I wasn't hiding. I was acting deliberately on terms I controlled. Landing in Miami, the warm breeze hit like a balm on wintered lungs. The sunlight glinted off the water, white sand stretched like a promise, and Mom laughed for the first time in months. Not a tight, careful smile, but the full-bodied, deep, almost childlike laugh that Dad loved so much. She looked around, eyes bright, and said, "I can't believe I almost forgot what this felt like." We unpacked the suite. Ocean view, balcony, 2 loungers perfectly angled to catch the sun without glare. Details I had insisted on because she deserved them. I didn't tell Lauren. I didn't brag. I just acted. Each decision, hotel, flights, car, even the little notes I left for housekeeping with her favorite morning snacks, was methodical. Every booking confirmation had already been forwarded to Lauren's inbox, and I didn't need to check if she opened it. That's her problem. The first morning, we walked barefoot along the sand. The water lapped at our feet, cool against warm skin. I took a few photos, more for memory than social proof. Mom pointing at a pelican, hair wild in the ocean wind, laughing at some joke I couldn't hear over the waves. I posted one online. Family trip we both needed. No tags, no names, no commentary, just proof, just a statement. We existed, unmolested, unharassed, unhindered. 5 days in, my phone blew up. Vibrations, notifications, an unrelenting storm of alerts. Calls from unknown numbers, texts from blocked contacts, even voicemails 10, 20, 30, one after another. Lauren had seen the post. Her messages were chaotic, unstructured, volatile. "You're showing off to hurt me. You were supposed to miss me. You're so cruel. Mom? Why is she there? Did you take her side? I can't believe you're smiling with her. I trusted you. I did nothing." Not a single response. Every number, every handle, every attempt at digital manipulation was blocked. No acknowledgement, no engagement. Silence was now my weapon. Mom watched quietly, perched on the balcony with a coconut water. She turned to me, eyes gentle but sharp. "Some people are black holes, sweetheart. They pull in all the light until there's nothing left. Don't let her pull yours." I nodded, letting her words settle. They weren't just advice. They were validation, a confirmation that the strategy I'd followed, the calm clarity I'd maintained, had worked. I put the phone face down on the table and let it rest. For the first time in months, the buzzing, the threats, the manipulations, everything Lauren had tried, could not reach me. They didn't exist here. Only the sunlight, the sand, the sound of waves, and my mom's laughter. That afternoon we went swimming. The water was clear, just warm enough, and I let it swallow all the tension. I dove under, letting the coolness embrace me, letting it rinse away the anxiety, the anger, the fear. When I surfaced, Mom was watching, her smile wide, open, genuine. And for the first time in years, I felt completely free. Not just free from Lauren or the chaos she represented, but free in a way I hadn't been since Dad died. Free to act, free to choose, free to breathe without guilt, without threats, without constant negotiation over emotional manipulation. I didn't post updates. I didn't call anyone. I just existed in that space, with someone I loved, without fear, without expectation. My control was absolute. The rules of engagement were mine. Every subsequent message from Lauren, every attempt at digital invasion was irrelevant. Sunlight spilled across the balcony, golden and unyielding. I held my mom's hand, squeezed it, and watched the horizon, feeling it settle into me. Calm, deliberate, and undeniably permanent. Freedom wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was simply being untouchable. And for the first time, the storm behind us no longer mattered. When I finally returned to my apartment, the silence hit like a wave. No buzzing phones. No frantic messages. Just quiet. On the counter, A small, unassuming package waited. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Lauren. I opened it. Inside, neatly packed, was my stolen laptop. The screen was intact, the charger neatly coiled. Beneath it, a folded piece of paper, scrawled in a messy, almost pleading hand. I'm sorry. I was jealous, insecure. My friends told me to test you. I didn't know it would go this far. Please forgive me. No actual acknowledgement of the theft. No admission of the emotional damage. Just excuses, thinly veiled as remorse. I read it once, set it aside, and threw the letter in the recycling bin. The laptop went to my office desk, reconnected, logged in, and I carried on with my work. No gloating, no satisfaction. Just order restored. A week later, another envelope arrived, this one with an official letterhead. Lauren's lawyer, or someone pretending to be one, had drafted a settlement proposal. This time, the tone was different. Conciliatory, almost careful. They offered to drop all claims if I agreed not to press charges for the theft of the laptop, the watches, or the other items she had taken. I read it thoroughly. I wasn't naive. There was a catch, of course, there always is. I replied immediately, calmly, my lawyer CC'd, setting one condition. A legally binding agreement stipulating no further contact with me or my mom. She signed it. Email confirmation, notarized copies, witnesses. Done. Clean. Concrete. Immutable. The relief wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, deliberate. A steady release of tension built over weeks. I filed the papers, logged the emails, and noted the case closed in my calendar. No celebration, just the satisfaction of finality. A month later, a mutual friend reached out with screenshots from her private group chat. Lauren had confessed. She admitted she'd sent that incendiary message to my mom to test how attached he is. Her friends weren't impressed. In fact, they turned on her, calling her reckless, manipulative, and insecure. The social fallout was swift. She lost support, trust, and credibility within the very network she had relied on to amplify her drama. Her housing situation followed suit. Unable to navigate the apartment she had left in chaos, she was forced to move back in with her parents in Texas. Not a word of complaint reached me. Not a single attempt at reconciliation. She was contained, isolated. Consequences exacted quietly, without spectacle, without public outbursts. Simply by enforcing boundaries and refusing engagement. Last night, my mom came over for dinner. Fresh pasta, homemade sauce, the small, green salad she always requests. Music played softly in the background. Classic jazz. Something that smells of old records and calm evenings. We laughed at small jokes, shared stories about Dad, reminisced about vacations, and planned the next family trip. The apartment felt alive again, warm in a way it hadn't for weeks. I noticed a profound shift in myself. The adrenaline, the focus, the procedural coldness that had guided every step since the first texts, the stolen property, the threats, it had done its job. I wasn't exhausted anymore. I wasn't wound-tight with anticipation. The apartment, my possessions, my life, everything that Lauren tried to manipulate was intact. She had no influence. She had no leverage. And in that realization, I understood the ultimate truth. The best revenge isn't rage. It isn't retaliation. It isn't public humiliation or vindictive gestures. It's peace. It's living a life they cannot touch. It's walking through your home, answering your phone on your own terms, eating your dinner, laughing with the people you love, knowing your boundaries are respected, enforced, and irreversible. It's the quiet moments, the small victories, the reclaiming of control in ways that no dramatic outburst could ever match. I looked across the table at Mom, smiling, relaxed, her eyes bright and steady. The music, the scent of pasta, the faint hum of the refrigerator, they all felt like markers of reclaimed life. Lauren had tried to poison it. She had tried to manipulate, frighten, and control, and she failed. The storm had passed. The wreckage remained only in her own story, not mine. I took a slow breath, smiled, and felt it settle deep in my chest. Calm, quiet, untouchable. Finally, truly free.